Welcome to the December NEWRA meeting. I'm Mary McGee, the president, and we've got Cheryl Del Greco, who is our sergeant at arms, and Andy Luca, who is our treasurer, is checking people in tonight, and then we have David Marks, who is the public safety chair, and we also have Robin Reed, who is our parks chair over there. And you'll see we have two new additions at the table here, and this is Victor Bronya and Stephanie Hogue of the Branding Licensing Committee, who are both, as you know, past presidents. And the reason that Victor and Stephanie are up here with us tonight is we are instituting a new procedure for our ZLC presentations, and that is that the ZLC members will now be chairing the ZLC discussions because they're already familiar with the topics because they have been to the ZLC committee meeting, and it just seemed to be a better way to do it. So we're going to be doing that, and they are going to be up here chairing that portion of the meeting. I just want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded by Matt Conti of NorthEndWatercraft.com, and we also have Bill Orlandella of the Regional Review with us as another press member. Is there anyone else here from the press? Anyone from any governmental agencies, any public officials? Leave anybody out? Okay. I want to remind you that the time has come around for renewing your membership. We go from January to December. So there are membership forms that you can fill out tonight. If you want to pay your dues tonight, you can take them with you and mail them in. Or you can go to our website, which is NEWRA.org, and you can go to the membership section, and you can either pay by PayPal, or you can print out the form and bring it with you to the next meeting. And our dues are still $10 a year, which is, I think, the lowest of any neighborhood organization in the city. But speaking of that, another initiative that we're going to be having coming up in the coming year, and I'm hoping that I can enlist Jason to help us with this, is that we are going to be looking at our bylaws. And our dues are actually set by our bylaws. And can I just have a show of hands that, how would people feel, or who would endorse going to $20 a year? There are people. So, so there's mixed feelings about. Okay, but one of the problems that we have is that right now our dues barely cover our expenses, and so if we doubled our dues, then we really would be pretty well set with our expenses. It's an easy way to do it without worrying about trying to do fundraising. A lot of our members are very generous and give a donation when they renew, and that's much appreciated. But even with that, we're still just kind of getting by. So that's one thing that we may be thinking about is increasing the dues a little bit.
Have you seen any response yet to the website initiative to allow for a higher contribution?
Yes.
I noticed that on the...
Yes.
But is it working?
Well,
or you haven't had enough yet?
We haven't been overwhelmed, but some people do that. Some people give the higher amount.
Because I prefer to see that versus increasing.
Well, you know, people have that option now, but even with that option, you know, we still are kind of just scraping by. So that's why, you know, as I said, some increase might be helpful. But we'll see. I mean, it would have to go, it would have to be a bylaw change. It would have to be 2/3 vote to do it. So we'll see whether that will work or not. So I think that is pretty much it for the president's report. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything they need to bring up. But
I have a question.
Yes, Benny.
I'm wondering if you increase the dues, would it intimidate more people joining?
Well, That's certainly a possibility, and, you know, I think that's something that we would have to discuss, and I think that would be something that if the bylaws committee is considering that, they would need to consider that. And so I think if people have thoughts about that and they would like to participate in the bylaws committee, which I'm planning on trying to get set up at our next meeting, then, you know, that should be brought to their attention. I mean, from what I know of our membership, I don't think there'd be too many people. And we do have a provision in our bylaws for the president to waive the bylaws for people who have done. And I think we could continue to do something like that. But in general, I think most of the membership, and considering the demographics of this community now, I think we should go a little higher than $10. That's my opinion. We'll see what the bylaws committee comes up with. So, all right, well, I'm going to pass it on now to Parks and Open Spaces, Robin.
Hi, everyone. The Parks and Open Spaces Committee has been very busy lately. We have a lot of initiatives going on. We continue with our focus on the trees in the north end, and we've noticed that there's been some new tree plantings on Hanover Street, but unfortunately they're very small and fragile trees, and we're very concerned that they won't last through the pedestrian traffic, people walking their bikes to the trees, and or vehicular traffic, because we lost one of the trees on Hanover Street because a truck backed into it. So we are looking into the possibility of putting tree cages, these metal wrap-around protective devices that will allow the tree to grow, but yet protect it from injury. And will still look good. They're ornamental and very protective. Beacon Hill has a number of them, and the city has told us that we can do that. We have permission to do that, but we have to fund them. We have to have them fabricated and installed. And right now, it looks like they cost about $800 a piece. And as Mary said, we have no money in our budget, so the Parks and Open Spaces Committee is looking into some fundraising, talking to some other, the North End Beautification Committee, talking to CBS, which is right in front of one of the trees, and other areas where we might be able to raise some money for that. So if anyone's interested in helping out with that, please see me. We're also keeping an eye on what's going on in the different spaces. Rachel Revere Park, one of the places that's being renovated right now, and we're concerned that they haven't put skateboard deterrents on some of the new construction, and we're concerned that it may get used for skateboarding. So we've been talking to the city about that. Working on that. Cotillo Park, just off of Salem Street. Some of our members have noticed that there's a lot of people hanging out there, not playing basketball and not using the tot lot in ways that we don't really think is enhancing the neighborhood. And we've talked to the police department about that, and they said how we can help the park is by adding some signage that states clearly the times that the park is open, and that trespassers can be prosecuted if they're hanging out there over the time that the park is open. So we're looking into getting some signage for the park. I know it doesn't sound very active. It is a passive way of doing that, but it is a first step.
Have you checked the lighting there? Is the lighting okay at night? Because if you put up signs and there's no lights, they're not going to see the signs.
That's a good idea. I have not been there.
And the lights might scare them away a little bit too.
And that's something I'm going to think about. The Prado work. Our big project is working with the city to get the Prado renovated because we feel that the bricks are unsafe. They don't drain the water very well. There's a lot of historical significance to the area, and we want that highlighted. So we have a team of people that are it's a multi-pronged approach. We're certainly talking to the city, but we're also talking to other advocates in the Boston and on a national level that may be able to help us with fundraising for that. We're also looking into ways in which we can improve the Prado in terms of stormwater runoff, and perhaps from an environmental standpoint, you know, if they're going to replace the bricks, maybe do it in an environmentally friendly way that's still historical. So we have a few different ways we're looking at the Prado being upgraded.
So I think I've asked this question before. Specifically, what contract is the city letting, and have they let that contract yet? And, or when will they?
And
Is
you
it
have
just
asked
a
that question
study?
before, and I still haven't done that
Is it
research.
just a study, or is it actual construction?
I am not sure, although Dave Goggins, who's not here tonight, I will speak for him. He spoke to someone who was surveying the Prado.
Oh, okay. Maybe
And
the
he
contract has been
was with the city.
Oh, with the city, okay.
And that's unfortunately all I know. I'm sorry, I have not followed.
Because we've been hearing about this contract for over a year now.
I know. They haven't gotten back to me responding to my letters.
It's no longer a PLD or any of it.
Well, next year's an election year, so maybe it'll get better.
Well, there's no there, you put that out.
Let's see. So I'm going to keep you up to date on all of that. We think, again, in the new year, there's a little bit of renewed effort on everyone's part, including the city. The next Parks and Open Spaces meeting is January 3rd, 2017, 7 p.m. at the Mariners House. Everyone is welcome to come. And I also want to point out that the Boston Planning and Development Agency has had some meetings that many of us here have attended, and there's another meeting coming up that I would encourage other people to go to. It's regarding the 115 Winthrop Square building that's being built. It's a 775-foot building that will increase the amount of shade on some of the parks in the city, and that significantly affects the growth. Dave was there, many of us were here. The next meeting for that is December 19th at 6:30 p.m. at 290 Congress Street.
I've been asked to say a few words about that.
Oh, good, okay, all right.
Based on the meeting
I
the
will
other,
let you-
based on the meeting the other night. Well, obviously there are a lot of people concerned. Most of the people in the room, and I'd say there were at least 200 people in the room, most of them are concerned about the effect of that 750-foot tall building at Winthrop Square Garage, which is in the center of the financial district, the effect that that will have in terms of shadow on the public garden in Boston Common. And there's a law that was put in about 30 years ago, more than that, I think 35 years ago, that says you can't do that, at least not at that location you can't do that, or at most locations. You cannot add shadow to the public garden of Boston Common. So the proposal is in violation of the law, state law. The proposal has been around for over 10 years. It's been a city hall proposal, not a developer's proposal. Usually you hear about these things when they're proposed by a developer. This is a city hall proposal that a developer will undertake. And City Hall is known for well over 10 years that it violates the state law, and they apparently intend to have the law amended. Now, I believe the law should be amended, not to allow that project or any other project to add shadow, but it needs to be amended because the law has exclusions now that would allow the entire common and public garden to be in shadow all morning. And the reason is that the exclusion is the area of what's called the Midtown Cultural District, which includes the downtown crossing. Those buildings are allowed to go up high enough that they can cast additional shadow on Boston Common and the public garden. For instance, we saw the shadow video that night The Millennium Building that has just gone up where Filene's was, has now cast a huge shadow across Boston Common, across the Public Garden, and into Commonwealth Mall in the morning. Huge shadow compared to what was there before. They could build more Millennium Towers along Washington Street or along even Tremont Street that would add more and more shadow. So the law makes no sense. It is not protective at all. It needs to be amended in order to provide more protection, not less protection, which
And
is...
not just of the garden and the common, but I would like that extended to the Greenway and the park as well.
Right. There's been attempts to create new laws or expand that law to cover other parklands, including the Esplanade and Greenway, and those, I think, failed a couple of years ago when they tried to do that. But I agree with you. But please, why do we have a law to protect the public garden in Boston Common, which is appropriate, that it just doesn't work? And now they're looking for this project to have an exclusion from that law that doesn't work. It's nuts. A few people got up to support the project. There were quite a few union people there, and with all major development projects, the union people are going to support these projects. The Chinatown community was represented by a few people who spoke that support the project because it will provide, how much? I forget the figure, but a lot of money for affordable housing, additional for affordable housing in Chinatown. And everyone in the room, I think, agrees with the position that these Chinatown residents are taking. Yeah, but everybody needs more affordable housing. All of our neighborhoods downtown are becoming less and less affordable. So, yeah, we understand why these Chinatown residents would support that. It's reasonable. The other support comes from people who want to see more money into the tax base, and I guess there's $153 million that may come into the city's coffers or the DRA's coffers, or some and some and some and the other. The DRA and the city coffers are two different coffers. One of the comments to the DRA on that project are due January 2nd. At the same time, there's a state environmental review process going on, which the BRA and the developer never mentioned that night until I asked the question. Well, there's a state environmental review process. Comments are due the 23rd of December. And so one of the things we'd like to do is send a NEWRA letter asking the developer, you have to ask the developer, to extend the public comment period for both to the middle of January. And we'll see if that works.
Thank you for that additional explanation. I would encourage people to attend those meetings and to write letters and to support you in there yourselves.
Thank you, Robert. One thing I forgot to mention is that our treasurer, Jen Crampton, is not here tonight because after our last meeting, she had a baby girl.
See what these meetings will do?
By the name of Leanna Steve. So in any event, but Jen actually did the agendas and the ballots for the meeting tonight. So God love her. And hopefully she will be back with us soon. And hopefully with some pictures. So in any event, having said that, I will pass the meeting over to Victor.
Oh, okay.
Brief DLC.
Thank you, Mary. The ZLC report customarily goes past, present, and future. Past was on November 22nd. We had a busy ZLC meeting, 4 zoning items, 112 to 115 Fulton Street. The owner of the unit on the top floor, new unit purchased by the owner next to a unit that he already owned, at which he enclosed an existing balcony. The most affected abutter is Forbes Dewey, who isn't here today, but he was at the meeting. And he was at last month's NEWRA meeting also. When the owner had enclosed the first unit 3 or 4 years ago, it would have blocked some views and some light from Forbes' adjacent unit, and the owner sliced off the side of the enclosure so that it wouldn't. Forbes had no problem with this unit, with this enclosure of this balcony of the adjacent unit. No objectors appeared, in fact, no one appeared. So the executive committee voted to send a no objection letter. And does anyone need to be reminded of the no objection letter procedure? We pride ourselves on being a democratic organization and letting the members vote on everything, but the members voted to give the executive committee the authority if there are no, if the ZLC committee recommends it, and if there are no butters or other members of the community impacted and negatively. So that's why the executive committee is able to vote and did vote to send a no objection letter. The next item on the ZLC agenda on November 22 was 8 Cooper Street, which is on tonight's agenda. The third item was 468 Commercial Street, which is now, it's a 3-unit building. The lower unit has been a commercial unit and I think vacant for many years, at least it looks as though it's been unattended for many years. Chris and Samantha Ianella, who are here today, whom we welcome, have purchased the building and intend to convert the Unit 1 into a residence. There were several supporting letters that were filed with the CLC committee, and that is the second one that the executive committee voted not to send a no objection letter. That was number 3. The fourth item on the agenda was 406 to 418 Commercial Street, where Verizon Wireless wishes to install 4 antennas, and that is on tonight's agenda for a vote. The next ZLC meeting, unfortunately, is the same night as the Parks meeting, January 3rd. We decided not to have it, the executive committee agreed not to have it on the 4th Tuesday of December because of the right after Christmas, the 27th. So it's going to be on January 3rd, as indicated on the back of tonight's agenda. The executive committee agenda to come so far will have 2 items on it. 1, 3 to 5 Quincy Court to expand the living space into the basement and to add 1 story, 10 feet high. 3 to 5 Quincy Court was the subject of a very controversial proposed development which sounded similar to this a year or 2 ago, and it was objected to by vote of NEWRA, and the Board of Appeal denied the required variances. So stay tuned for that one.
So you don't know whether this proposal is different or how much it is different?
Don't know, haven't seen it.
Because if it isn't different, I would hope that our vote would stand. And then, limit the review of that and just say our vote stands. It's the same proposal, basically.
It's a new owner, but it may be the same proposal. We'll see when we get the details. And the second and final one that is will so far be on the agenda is 5 North Square, Gennaro's Restaurant. This is Attorney Ferrulo, as the previous 3 to 5 Quincy Court is. And what the information I have is limited. For example, I don't know whether it includes transfer of a liquor license. The liquor license presently there is 1 a.m. closing, 7 days, a full liquor license. So Attorney Ferrulo has promised to give me more details, and between now and the 3rd of January, I hope to have them. And that is the ZLC report.
I spoke to the owner, and they're not changing the seating capacity, the hours of closure, or anything. It's just a transfer. Just like coming down the park to one. Well, that's what they're saying.
Okay, thank you. Volunteer organization?
We did get some people who signed up to help out with the ZLC committee. I did not bring the forward tonight because we're up against the holidays, and so we'll be doing more recruiting and also trying to get things more organized after the holidays and the new year.
Thanks, Stephanie. Public safety?
Good evening, everyone. Always great to see a robust turnout. Happy holidays as well. In the last, let's see, Part 1 crime, year to date, citywide is down 7%. In District A1, which of course includes the North End, it is down 2%. Although there has been an uptick in car thefts, unfortunately. In the last 30 days, as reported at last Thursday's monthly public safety meeting, 1 aggravated assault, 3 auto thefts, 2 larcenies, and 2 arrests. I'll try to zip through them as quickly as possible. Aggravated assault occurred November 27th at 6 Prince Street by R2. Late at night at about 2:15 in the morning, a fight occurred over an illegally parked car on the sidewalk. The suspect was a patron at R2. The victim was hit in the head with a bottle. The car was eventually towed. The auto thefts, really no rhyme or reason to it, although one of the 3 was pretty notable. 290 Commercial Street at the UPNE lot. 2015 Mercedes C300 was not there when the car's owner arrived to pick it back up from the valet. The parking attendant claimed that the cars are parked in another lot when their lot becomes full. The manager quickly denied that, saying that's not our policy, we don't do that. So after waiting quite a while, the parking attendant did come back with the car. Seemed to be very nervous. That attendant was cited for using a motor vehicle without authority. That is an actual crime. 2 larcenies, they both occurred on November 11th at about 440 Hanover Street at 8:45 p.m. and 9:45 p.m. respectively. Delivery driver from Hawley's reported 2 separate incidents of delivery bikes being stolen. And there were 2 arrests. One was for domestic violence between a husband and a wife. The husband hit his wife. He was arrested for assault and battery. The other one was at Maria's Pastry on Cross Street. A drunk person caused a disturbance by threatening employees and using colorful language, if you know what I mean. That suspect was arrested for assault and battery and disorderly conduct. Last but not least, there was a pretty healthy, time-consuming discussion about the sex offender registry list, which every state, of course, has. Sergeant John Doris at the public safety meeting brought it up. He provided the actual website. It's on my public safety report that was published on northendwaterfront.com 2 days ago, I believe. And there is one level 3 sex offender living in the North End, or allegedly living in the North End. Level 3 equals most likely to reoffend. And the bottom line is that a warrant is now out for that gentleman's arrest because you're supposed to list a valid residential address, and the address that that person registered with is a P.O. Box address. So stay tuned. Things can happen very quickly when people get involved. Thank you very much. And as always, the first public safety meeting, is the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. in this room. So that would be Thursday. Does anyone happen to know right off the bat? I apologize. Thank you. Thank you. And once again, happy holidays.
You too.
Thank you, David. And we are going to move on to the ZLC section of the meeting. Oh, sorry, sir.
Can I just make one announcement?
Sure. And could you please tell the group that you weren't here when we asked for the government people?
Okay, I'm sorry I wasn't here when the meeting started. My name is Kathy Crangelo. I'm from Council Martina's office, and I just wanted everybody to know that Council Martina was having an Airbnb meeting on Monday at City Hall at 4 o'clock.
Thank you.